Hello, we have today מעינה Torah, Wellsprings of the Torah by Rabbi Alexander Zusya Friedman. This is Terumah. The parsha is Terumah, and they're talking about the Aron, that holds the luchos, the ark that holds the tablets of the luchos, the Aseret Adibros, the 10 Commandments. It says that the Cheruvim, there are angels that are on top of it. There's like little carvings of angels on top of it that they have to be made of gold. So let's see what it says this in Shemos. Let's see what it about it. Let's take a look over here about it. Okay, so it says here, V'yasisa shinayim kruvim zahav, and you should make two angels out of gold. Chafei Yudches. That's 25th and Yudches. That's the pasuk Yudches, chapter 25. Kol kelei hashareis b'mishkan v'mikdash mutar hoyu la'asosam mikol minei hamatechos. All of the different kalim, the different kinds of utensils that were in the Mishkan, we were able to make them. They were able to be made out of all types of metals. Bizman shelo hoyazav, in the time where they did not have gold. Rak hakeruvim chayovim hayu lihiyos mizav v'asor haya la'asosam mikol mateches acheres. Only the Cheruvim, the cherubs, had to be made out of gold, and it was prohibited to make them out of any other type of metal. Even in the other utensils, if you didn't have gold, you could make it out of whatever other metal, silver or whatever, copper. However, but the Cheruvim, they had to be made out of gold. This says this in Mechilta Sof Mishpatim, in the end of Mishpatim. That was the last parsha. Anyway, so why is this? Kol kach lama. Why is it so? Mishum Cheruvim misamalim es hatinoko sarachim. Because the Cheruvim are symbolic of the children, the young children, the impressionable young children. Karavi demos pirtzov tinok lohem. It said these Cheruvim, these cherubs had the profile of a child. They had the face of a child. In other words, they symbolized the children of the Bnei Yisrael. Therefore, their place was on top of the aron, the aron, the closet, the place where the luchos were put. Not a closet, the box that the luchos, that the two commandments were put. In other words, a very chashuv thing, the place where the 10 Commandments were. Lahashmiyenu, this teaches us, ki chova hi lechanech es hayaladim letorah. Why do we have a picture of children there? Why do we have these cherubs there, which symbolize the children? Because it's our obligation to teach the children Torah. That's why we have Cheruvim. That's why Hashem said, put the Cheruvim on top of the Aron, because it is a great obligation to teach the children Torah. V'kivan sha'devarim amurim b'chinuch hatorani shel b'nei hanoar. Since these things are said about the education, the Torah education of the youth, of the children, v'hakomas ha-mostos ha-mati'imim lakach, and the establishing of the different bases of their education, Chadarim v'yeshivos, Chadarim, the cheder v'yeshivos, yeshivos. Azai efshar latzeis yedei chova v'katonos. One is not able to take care of your obligation by just giving them to any yeshiva. V'katonos, v'perutos shel nechoshes. You can't do it by just giving like a few dollars. You have to give. In other words, you have to give to the child to a very good yeshiva, not to the one that's the cheapest or the most economical. The perutos shel nechoshes. You can't just give your child to a very, this is a cheaper yeshiva. You have to. What's the better yeshiva for your child, for our children? The perutos shel nechoshes. You can't take care of your obligation with the perutos of copper. Ela dafka b'zahav. What one has to give it with b'zahav, with gold. In other words, one has to really think about it and go to the best yeshiva that one can afford, with the money of gold, not perutos from copper. This was said by Hagon Maharam Rav Meir Shapiro Zal Lublin, Rav Meir Shapiro of Lublin. That, in other words, the Cheruvim were made out of zahav, out of gold, to teach us that one should give a lot of thought and even expense to the upbringing of one's children. It has to be done out of gold. Every other utensil could have been made out of any other. If we didn't have gold, you could make it out of another metal. But the Cheruvim had to be made out of gold. We'll take a look at this now too, if we can. Upanehem ish el ochiv. And these Cheruvim, these two cherubs, these two angels, were facing each other. They were facing each other. Because of Acher Omer, a different pasuk says, "Ufeneihem labayis," and their faces were to the house. In other words, to the Beis Hamikdash. Divrei Hayamim. That's in the Chronicles. Divrei Hayamim. Nun Chaf. Kan v'osin ritzono shel makom. Kan v'ein osin ritzono shel makom. One case. So, in other words, what is it? Is it where they were facing each other, or where they were facing labayis, to the house, to the Beis Hamikdash? So the answer is Kan v'osin ritzono shel makom. One case where they are facing each other is when they Bnei Yisrael do the will of Hashem. Kan v'ein osin ritzono shel makom. The place where they are facing the Beis Hamikdash and not facing each other, that's where they are not doing the will of Hashem. Im rotze adam la'asos ritzono shel makom. If somebody wants to do the will of Hashem, ein lo laseis da'ato rak al atzmo. One can't only think about oneself. He can't only think about his own situation, of his own doing good. Ki im lidaog gam lizulas. One has to worry also about the other person, that the other person should also do the will of Hashem, should also daven and do the good things. Shegamri ehu yihye Yehudi ne'eman, that his friend should also be a faithful Jew, a good Jew. Shegam beno shel re'ehu yilmad Torah, that also the son of his friend should also learn Torah. In other words, not just one's own son, one's own child should learn Torah, but that the son of his friend should also learn Torah. Upeneihem ish el ochiv. And upeneihem ish el ochiv. So in other words, these two Cheruvim were facing each other. One was facing the other. Sheyihyu panav mufanim gam el ochiv. In other words, when they're doing the will of Hashem, then they're facing each other. They're thinking about the other person. Is the other person learning? Is he doing the right thing, doing the mitzvos? Is his son learning Torah, getting a good education? They were thinking about each other. Each face is to the other, their friend. Varam, however, Im doeg adam rak liatzmo, if a person is only thinking about himself or herself, panav mufanim rak labeisohu. So then the face of the Cheruvim are facing to the Beis HaMikdash. In other words, not to each other. They're facing away from each other to the Beis HaMikdash. Ufeneihem labayis, their houses to the house. Their faces are to the house. Harizeh simon she'eno ose ritzono shel makom. If their faces are not to each other and they're to the house, to their own house perhaps, or they're talking about to the house of the Beis HaMikdash, so then this is a simon, this shows a simon she'eno ose ritzono shel makom, that this person is not doing the will of Hashem, because if one is doing the will of Hashem, one has to be thinking about the other person also. That everyone should be doing the will of Hashem, not just I myself am doing the will of Hashem, but I have to think about the other person doing the will of Hashem. And this is from Pardes Yosef. So in other words, Ufeneihem ish el re'ochiv, their faces were toward each other. This is when they are doing the will of Hashem, then the faces of the Cheruvim are pointed to each other, because they are thinking about the other person. They want what's good for the other person, and being good for the other person means the other person is also following the will of Hashem. So when are the faces of the Cheruvim looking at each other? This is when they are doing the will of Hashem. Thank you very much. Kol tov. Hatzlacha. Hatzlacha Rabba. This here is מעינה של Torah by Alexander Gozusha Friedman. This is a compendium of various divrei Torah on the parshas of the week, of the parshas of the Torah. Thank you very much. Kol tov. Seid gesund.